that we're using has just been terrific for the chamber. And for me, anyway, to be a Zoom king is a miracle and a half. I wouldn't say I'm a king yet, but at least I know how to work it a little bit. And now it gives me a great honor to introduce Don DeVivo, our chairman. Just a couple of remarks. Tomorrow will be our final meeting with Don as chairman of the chamber, and Tom Byrne will be taking over after that. Don has just done a magnificent job this year as our chairman. You know, as you all have gone through the COVID situation, all of the other situations that we've had, especially over the last 3 months, with his own business facing some difficulties because of everything that's going on. The guy has just been unbelievable committed to our chamber. And I'm so proud that I've had the opportunity to work with him this year. And I give you Don DeVivo.
Thanks, Larry. Good to see everybody. Thank the legislators for all being here. We know we've got a lot of questions, so I won't take too much time with my remarks. Just want to thank the staff for being here during this period, and they're trying to keep the events going and keep the chamber going and keep us financially sound. And I think we're accomplishing all that. So happy to be here. And I want to turn it over to our sponsor, Maureen Westbrook from Connecticut Water.
Thanks, Don. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Connecticut Water Company, my legislative co-chair, Rich Corella, all the members of the legislative committee, and certainly all of our Middlesex chamber members, I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us today, even when we can't be there in person for a breakfast. Those are more fun, but we're all making do with the new world we're in here. These are certainly unprecedented times for all the businesses and residents in Connecticut and across the country. And who knew that social distancing would become an everyday term, or that meetings would all become virtual and wearing face masks would be the new norm. I have to say, as I took on my new role as president of Connecticut Water in December of 2019, I never envisioned one of my first things would be to lead our organization through a pandemic. But it's times like these when we most need to support our employees and our customers, build on our reputation, and work with organizations like the Chamber to support businesses in Connecticut. Never has the importance of having access to safe drinking water been more evident, since even the most basic health measures and instructions start with washing your hands for 20 seconds, and that's just not possible without clean water. It's certainly been rewarding for me to see how our team of 200+ water professionals at Connecticut Water have stepped up to deliver that safe quality water to over 100,000 customers in 59 communities throughout this event. Like so many of you, our office employees, including our customer service reps, are working remotely. And outside of an occasional barking dog or a child visiting on Zoom, it really has been virtually seamless for folks. I know I join with others in saying how much we appreciate our healthcare workers, including those associated with Vin Capice and his group at Middlesex Healthcare, who have stepped up throughout this. Our local banks have worked so hard with our businesses on the Paycheck Protection Program and operated through their drive-through windows to make sure their customers were assisted during this time. And to so many businesses that had to shutter for a period of time, I'm sure it's encouraging as we enter phase 2 today and see more businesses open up in Connecticut. Throughout this event, as Don has said, the Chamber's been a great resource, providing access to important information and training and supporting the businesses in Middlesex County. I thank Larry and the team for all they've done to pivot their work and serve our members throughout this. And while so far much of the state's response has been led by the administration and the agencies, we know that you as legislators will now be faced with some difficult decisions on what to do to get us through both the short and long-term impacts of COVID on our communities and our state. So I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. We look forward to hearing from you and sharing questions that we've already received from our members, and hope that you'll then be in a better position as they go back into special session to help represent the businesses in Middlesex County, as you have all done so well through the years. So thanks, and I'll turn it over to Jeff to kick off the program.
Thank you so much, Maureen. Appreciate your support, Rich's great support, and of course the support of our delegation, not only of this event, but of all chamber events and their service to our state. So just very quickly going through the legislators we have with us this afternoon. I will go through their name, their district, and their committees. So we appreciate that. We have State Senator Christine Cohen, who is the chair of the Environment Committee, the vice chair of the Commerce Committee, and a member of the Children and Planning Development Committee. From District 13, we have Senator Mary Daughtry Abrams, who is chair of the Public Health Committee, vice chair of Education and Veterans Affairs Committee, and a member of the Aging and Appropriations Committee. From the Senate 20th District, we have Senator Paul Formica, who is the ranking member on the Appropriations Committee and the ranking member on the Energy and Technology Committee, and also a member of the Executive and Legislative Nominations Committee. From the 33rd Senatorial District, we have Senator Norm Needleman, who is the chair of the Energy and Technology Committee, vice chair of Planning Development, and a member of Commerce, Finance, Revenue and Bonding, and Transportation. From the 34th Senate District, we have Senator Len Fasano, Senate Minority Leader. He is a member of the Executive and Legislative Nominations Committees, the ranking member, and the Legislative Management Committee ranking member. Switching to the House side very quickly, from the 23rd House District, we have Representative Devin Carney, who is on the Finance, Revenue and Bonding Committee, also Planning, Development, and Transportation. We have Representative Joe Serra, who is the chair of the Aging Committee. He's from the city of Middletown, and he is a member of the Public Safety and Security Committee and the Transportation Committee. We also have from the 35th District Representative Jesse McLaughlin, and he is a member of the Transportation Committee, the Education Committee, and the Environment Committee. From the 36th District, we have Representative Christine Palm. She is a member of Environment, the Joint Committee on Judiciary, and she is on Regulations Review. And we have Representative Vin Candelora as well. He is a member of the Finance, Revenue and Bonding Committee, Legislative Management, a member of that committee, and also Public Health and General Law. And we also finally have Representative Quentin Phipps from the 100th District, the city of Middletown. He's on Executive and Legislative Noms, Finance, Revenue and Bonding, and GAE Committee as a member. I believe I covered everyone. And if I have not, please correct me on that front. But without further ado, I'll kick it back over to Maureen and Rich Corella to continue with the Q&A portion of our event here this afternoon. Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks, Rich. And Jeff, I'll kick it off with the first question here about special session. We're not sure yet exactly when there will be a special session, but we've all heard there will be one. We've also heard that committee chairs were asked to identify their priority bills from the regular session that they would want to be considered in the special session. So we're just looking for your thoughts on how can you help ensure that the bills that are considered have actually had a public hearing and sufficient opportunity for input or consensus on language where necessary, so that we don't end up with a lot of surprises and quick things passed that would not otherwise have been supported or discussed come out of a session like that. So anyone, let's start with in the Senate. Anybody want to grab that one? Norm. I saw your light go green.
Well, only because I had a message that popped up that said the administrator wants you to unmute. I don't know if that meant that that was just me or everybody got that message. I think the senior member on
I sent that,
Joe Serra, he should answer everything.
Norm, I sent that message to you.
Oh, thank you, Len. Whoever did, thank you so much. Look, I will take a stab at this first. First of all, thank you, Madam President, for emceeing this. I know it's a new job for you, and looking forward to having Connecticut Water continue to deliver the excellent service that it's been known for to all of the member towns. So thank you for stepping up, and thank you for hosting this call or sponsoring this call. And thank you to the Chamber, Larry, especially just for continuing the hard work with Jeff and Joanna to just continue to deliver the service that all the businesses in the Chamber expect and need more than ever. Dealing with three major crises at one point is almost unheard of, and I don't think any of us signed on for this specific situation. But between the virus and certainly the economic fallout from it, which is its own unique crisis, and now the issues around trying to right some of the wrongs that have been in place for a while with regard to policing, while recognizing the hard work that the police do, are three major things to look at. And because I'm a cautious person by design, I think we need to deal with as much of this as we can in a short session and tee up major change and major reform on some of these things in the winter, assuming that we all come back. Len, we know, is not coming back, going to enjoy a happily well-deserved retirement. But But I think that we have an opportunity now to get as much done as we can. I think that the less partisan bickering we have and the more we focus on the people we're elected to serve, the better off we're going to be. I think that there's an opportunity and a need. So I'm into whatever hard work we have to do, and I'm into trying to solve as many problems in a short session as we can, knowing that there are constraints on that. So that answer any question, or is that just a speech, a non-written speech?
It's a good answer. And I'll kick it to Senator Fasano and the other side of the chamber up there in the Senate, and as a leader in the chamber, see your thoughts on that process.
So I think we're going to go in for some sort of criminal justice would be my guess. That is a big push. The voting on the absentee issue, to the extent there's constitutional hurdle there, I think we'll probably take a look at that. As far as anything else other than that, I really don't know. There's some effort by one of the caucuses to talk about some of the COVID rules that the governor, EOs that the governor has put forth. We did initially talk about bills. We did initially talk about chairs and ranking members getting together and talking about bills, get commonality, and then go in there, run the bills, and leave. But that has changed a bit to the emphasis being 3 parts. Governor Lamont has talked about 2, which has been the civil justice and the absentee voting. I think, as I said, one of the caucuses talked about the EOs. I don't know if we got back to the bills yet, but it's early. The leaders had a conversation 2 days ago with the governor's folks about where we're going to go. We're definitely going to session. The menu, I'd say, is a little bit up for grabs.
Great, that's helpful. Representative Candelara from the House side, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I mean, Len sums it up. We're hearing, there's a lot of informational hearings that are happening right now. Committees are sort of talking about different issues. But I think that, there's also a focus to try to prioritize what we're doing when we do go in, because it is going to be a challenge just being able to conduct the business that we need to do. So time is an issue. Obviously, the social distancing is going to be an issue. And so practically speaking, I think that's going to impact how much business we're going to be able to do.
Great. Anybody else want to jump in on that question? And if not, we'll kick it to the next one.
And if anybody's having any
This
issues
is
with
Senator
unmuting,
Abrams.
please, Senator, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Hi. Oh, thank you. Since I chair public health, I would just like to say that I think, we did have a meeting with our ranking and the leadership of our committee to talk about bills that we had commonality with, and we've done that, and we'll move that on to our leadership. But also, given what's happened with COVID, there are certainly things that have come up about public health that I think are worth looking at. Whether or not they'll get on an agenda of special session, I don't know. But I think there's both things that we've learned, that things like telehealth and how well it might work, that would be worth looking at. And there's also issues of racial equality in healthcare that I think are worth looking at, as well as nursing homes. So there's a lot of things under public health, given the current situation, the current crisis that we're in, both in what we've learned, the good things we've learned from it, the challenges we've faced and responded to, and also to prepare in case it does come back in the fall. So I think public health is in a unique position that we might have some bills that need to be considered in a special session, but I will certainly put those things forward. But as Senator Fasano said, the menu is up for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to take the next question, but I want to echo that. And I think you do have an opportunity to bring some of those kind of pressing issues to the forefront, whether it be public health or civil justice, criminal justice, and certainly budget is out there as well. And, luckily, we have a good reserve at the moment that might pick up some of that shortfall, not 100%. And maybe the tweaks right now don't have to be so bad. But looking ahead, they're looking at, if you read the Connecticut Mirror, you're looking at significant shortfalls. And I would say this, I would urge you to take some steps now. Time is on your side. If you have a whole year to plan ahead for the shortfall that's anticipated in 2021, now might be the time to act. But maybe turning to, maybe Representative Candelara or Senator Needleman or Representative Carney, those of you on the Finance and Revenue Committee, what do you see as some of the short-term and possible long-term actions that might be taken to address the budgetary shortfalls that are coming around the corner? We can anticipate and actually have been reported on.
Well, I think right now the state is taking a little bit of a wait and see approach. How quickly is the revenue going to rebound? This session, the books are closing on July 30th, and there isn't much left to do to try to remedy the shortfall from this year. The federal money that is coming in does not allow us to fill those holes with that money. Rather, that money needs to be used for expenditures resulting from the COVID impact. So I think that it's going to be a very big challenge going in, and I think we'll know more by September. But I think that we aren't going to be able to go much further than September, I think, before we take a look at this next budget year. Otherwise, the entire rainy day fund is going to be wiped out. And it's going to push us into a situation of very ugly decisions being made. As I think everybody can recall, the 2009 recession that we had, which I think is of a similar magnitude. So hopefully we saw in May that the sales tax bounced back nationally, that we will see some of this bounce back and the hole will be filled, but it's just going to be very ugly.
Senator Needleman, Representative Carney, you guys are also on Finance, Revenue, and Bonding. Any thoughts from your side as well?
Sure. Well, I actually tend to agree with Vin on this, that we don't really know where we're going to land as things open. We don't know if there's going to be a second wave. There's really no way to predict what our economy is going to look like. And I don't think for this fiscal year there's anything we can do. We're going to be going back in January, looking at a complete picture that could be anywhere from absolutely catastrophic all the way through a normal recession, right? I think that the best we can hope for is a normal recession. But I also am hopeful, I don't know if that's naively hopeful, but I'm actually hopeful that in Washington, there's gonna be some relief somewhere for the states and municipalities, because we're all gonna take it on the chin. And it's not a blue and red. Every state is hurting. The unemployment compensation funds, I keep mentioning this to the federal delegation folks that I'm with, that the unemployment compensation fund needs to be backed up and forgiven. It needs to be not something that is going to be repaid as in a normal recession on the backs of every business in the state of Connecticut or in every business in the country. I think if we're going to sort of wipe out the slate on that, that's one area. All COVID-related unemployment claims have to be dealt with. All COVID-related disability claims, all COVID-related healthcare expenses, because those of us that own businesses, if you have 2 or 3 people that ended up being hospitalized, your new rate going in next year is going to be dramatically impacted by this virus if you've had any spread in any business. So I don't think it's fair to have the businesses necessarily bear this on their backs. And at the same time, aid to people has to continue in some form or another. Extended unemployment feathering out that $600. We need to do something. So if all of that falls on the back of the state of Connecticut, it's going to be ugly for us. And it's going to be ugly anyway, but that's what I said. It could go from catastrophic to a normal recession. And I think that that will determine the tenor of next year's special session and next year's session. And I have to tell you that those of us that are trying to go back are going to have a bear of a time next year, especially on the finance and on the appropriation side. We know that we've cut state spending. Clearly, there's always efficiencies you could find, but there's just not a lot of meat on that bone left without cutting into the muscle. There's no fat that I can see. We have a transportation crisis. We have certain inequities that have been shown, as Mary said, that obviously there are going to be members who want to address that. I just think there's going to be more that we see that needs to be done and less money to do it. And I don't know how you deal with that without crushing business, and more than it's been crushed. You know, I think that there's a large percentage of small businesses that are not making it back. And that's a devastating thing for Connecticut's economy. So we're going to need to be helping all the way around in a world where there's no money. So I'm hopeful, I keep talking about it, that some kind of aid comes from the federal government that allows some of these costs to be ameliorated. But it's not going to be pleasant. And I don't think there's anything we can do about that in a special session. I think there's really limited tools out there for that.
I think Representative Phipps, you wanted to chime in on this? You got your hand raised.
Yeah, so thank you, Senator, for that, especially around the role that the Fed, our federal delegation is going to have to play in the solution. But I think the number one reframing that we have to talk about this entire situation is that we can't return to normal. Like there is no old normal that doesn't have inequities. There's no new normal that doesn't have a lasting impact on our small business and independent business owners. Even the fact that right in our own hometown, my hometown of downtown Middletown, and the number of amazing restaurants that are in dire trouble, which is something that we all thought was one of our pride and joy, something that would always be there, something that was clearly sustainable. But within a few short months, some of our favorite businesses are struggling and may not return. We have to do something fundamentally different. And I even think about the numerous calls that we all have seen and heard from our constituents, especially around unemployment, where it took weeks, if sometimes not months, to be able to get that first check to be able to put food on the table, pay your bills, so on and so forth. So I think a lot of the ideas and principles and values that we've all been talking about for a while, making sure that folks have reasonable wages, saving for a rainy day, investing in our infrastructure, those are how we're going to get ourselves out of this. But the idea of cutting our way through this, I don't even think we're at the point where we're at muscle. I think we're at the point of losing limbs. And how do I know that? It's because it said it took so long just to be able to get unemployment. I think we fundamentally have to look at how we're going to solve this problem. And I question the success of cutting our way through it. I think that's going to result in even more pain than we're already seeing.
Yeah, allow me to follow up with some of what you've just said, because we have a couple of questions that have come in as a follow-up. Why wait and see what happens until September when you know of the shortfalls that we're going to be seeing? You know that the municipal budgets are going to be impacted now, right? Their July payments, and Norm, you might know this as well, right? The municipal budgets are going to take a real hit this coming July and January. Why not do something now and start setting the stage so that you have this longer lead time to deal with the budget crisis that is going to be around the corner.
So I can jump in on that and just to tell you what we did here. In Essex, we analyzed very thoughtfully what could be the impact. We opted to do the 3-month low interest option as opposed to the forbearance because we thought that that was more prudent. And I have no idea what to expect. We have a healthy rainy day fund. Not all towns do. But we also have been pretty conservative about how we budgeted. So we decided to stay the course, budget the way we always do. And at the same time, I suggested, and we're teed up to do a tax anticipation note. Because I think the interesting thing about municipal tax revenue, because it's such a narrow, where we get our money from, because the way the state operates is very limited to property tax. Ultimately, property taxes will be paid, whether they're paid as a result of people needing some extra time, or whether they're paid in the worst case as a result of foreclosures. We will get our money. So I think that municipalities to varying degrees are going to struggle, but I think that we will get through it. Not all. I mean, we get to Hartford and New Haven, if they lose substantial revenue, if the renters forbearance gets extended more, which it may have to, then there's got to be similar forbearance on the part of the banks for the mortgage holders of the buildings. There's a cascading effect here. So I understand what you're saying about wanting to do something now. I'm just not sure what you think we can do. I'm open to suggestions. I'm sure my colleagues are, but sitting at the table trying to figure out in what will be a 3, 5, 10-day special session, what are we going to do to address a budget that's already approved in the second year? Thankfully, we do have a prudent rainy day fund, and it wasn't used for anything else. So we do have some flexibility. This could have been way more catastrophic if we didn't have that rainy day fund. And I'm grateful for past generations of legislators who made sure that we did right now. And I think that's what I said, we're gonna have a $700 million shortfall with a $2.5 billion rainy day fund. We will get through next fiscal year. There may be some adjustments, I suspect, in a special session, but I don't know that they'll be that material. You're not gonna see new taxes. You're not gonna see massive cuts to programs when most programs are underfunded to begin with. So I don't know what people would expect we could do, but next year it's gonna be a really, really hard conversation to have, but at least we'll have more information. Right now, I just don't even think we know. I think that I'm open to suggestions. I'm sure all my colleagues are, but I'm not sure what people expect us to do in a very, very short session, so.
All right. Senator Fasano, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, you like that. I got that virtual thing down.
Good, you got it down.
Several meetings. Yeah. I cannot pick a better year to exit the Senate, I can tell you that, with everything culminating. So good luck to the rest of you. But I would say this, the only lesson I think we got to take from 2009 that Vinnie Candelora was talking about is, I distinctly remember November, December of that year, we went in for a special session and we talked about changing the budget because $1 saved in November is $2 in December, et cetera, et cetera. And the argument that was put forth was, let's wait for Christmas because the retail numbers are going to come in. So we waited till January and the retail numbers were flat. And then it was, well, we're a little bit down. Let's wait till the quarterly comes in. Let's see what that is. And then it was, let's wait for April 15th and see what the estimated payments and the tax revenue was. Then it's, oh, well, it's May. What are we going to do now? In 40 days, the budget's done. So I think we had to learn from that lesson and say, well, I don't have the magic surgical instruments here to tell you what we do, but I think we have to have an honest look and take a look at the numbers for the economy were better in May than they were in April. Obviously, we have to see what they are in June as things loosen up. I don't think that's going to solve the problem by any stretch. But I think we got to figure out saving 50 cents now is a lot better than doing some draconian method out of last resort in February. Because look, let's be perfectly candid and intellectually honest. We're coming into November election year. There's going to be a hesitancy to say, I don't want to go in because I don't want to make cuts before the election. I don't want to raise taxes before the election. That's going to be the mantra, if not said out loud, certainly in the hallways of that building. And I get it, that's difficult. And I understand that position. But on the other hand, you're going to be, if you're not going to do it then, you're not going to probably do it in December because you have a new legislature and those folks have a right to have a say. So you're looking at what, January, February, and now you've got less than a half a year to do it. So with that upbeat conversation, I unfortunately have to cut early on this. So a number of colleagues are on here. So I thank you for all your hard work. I thank you for having me on. I'm actually trying to open up my business for Saturday. That's where I'm here now. So I'm working hard at it. So I have to run. But thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank you, Senator.
all the time you've given me throughout the year. So thank you.
Thank you
Thanks
for
so
your
much.
years, Senator.
Thank you.
Great.
Good luck, everybody.
Thanks.
Maureen, back to you.
Yeah, the next question, Norma kind of teed it up, the discussion on unemployment, but I'd like to kick it out to some of the other business owners here. And I know we have several legislators who are. I know Senator Cohen, Senator Formica, Representative Candelora, others are probably business owners. You know, again, the exact same thing that was raised is, you know, the feds are borrowing all this money, or the state's borrowing money from the feds to assist in the continued unemployment payments. But what happens to those unemployment costs longer term, which after 2008, it clearly went to the employers. There was a 450% increase in annual federal unemployment charges to employers over a 6-year period until 2016. So, you know, that's a real burden on our businesses. And how do you do that? You know, what can or should be done to help insulate the businesses from that? And kind of a question that came up from a member online here is, you know, even again, being very honest, there's some employees who are not coming back because unemployment is better for them right now than coming back to a reduced work schedule or something. So anybody care to tackle that question?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start. Thanks, Maureen, and thanks to the Middlesex Chamber for having these discussions. I think they're so valuable for us too, to hear from constituents and businesses about what they're faced with right now and what's really concerning them. And these concerns are concerns of mine as well as a business owner, certainly. We have seen, you know, while we're so grateful for federal assistance in terms of unemployment, I heard from many businesses that were thankful that their employees had some type of relief during this time if they couldn't be open, certainly, but it's a balance, right? So we need our employees back now, and as you alluded to, it's been a little bit difficult with that $600 bump, especially if you're paying in the minimum wage anywhere from, you know, up to $20 an hour, really has been difficult because certainly unemployment with that federal bump has paid significantly better in some cases. I've been fortunate in that I've been able to maintain my employees throughout the COVID pandemic. I'm in the quick serve casual business. And while revenues are certainly down, like so many of us are experiencing, I know I'm a lot better off than some other folks who are in different sectors of the restaurant industry, maybe more high-end dining, or certainly other industries throughout our economy that were shut down and are just now reopening or need to look to phase 3 to reopen. I'd like to echo Senator Needleman's comments. We absolutely need to make sure that what has happened in the past does not happen again. And Maureen, you mentioned it in the in the question itself, we cannot be charging back businesses. Long term, we need to look to a fix, and I'm grateful. While I haven't been able to have this conversation with all of my colleagues, I'm grateful at least we are having that discussion within the Senate Dems caucus. I know that this has been something that Senator Needleman and I have both been bringing to the forefront of these discussions. I know Senator Austin as well on appropriations has been mindful of how we move forward like this. And I've also had many conversations with Representative Candelora on, what can we do? Where can we go from here? So I just, I wouldn't say rest assured, but I would say that we are very mindful of the impacts that this is having on businesses now and what it could potentially have in the future. And we need to do everything we can to mitigate and problem solve so that this is not on the backs of businesses as we move forward. And obviously we need to replenish these unemployment funds. So I know that we're working hard with our federal delegation as well, see what we can do to get supplemental federal funding in order to replenish our unemployment fund, insurance fund. And I think we'll all be putting our heads together on how we might be able to move forward and make sure we alleviate some of this pain that businesses are feeling.
Thank you. And Representative Vernica, I know you're trying to run a restaurant down there. How's that working for you?
It's, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity today. You know what? We have the greatest staff in the business and the greatest customer base in the business. And, we've just been working our way through it, changed processes 2 or 3 times since March 17th. And, today is the day we could open up to 50% inside. We have decided to defer that until Monday. We want to get through the holiday weekend just because we will have to send a new process forward, and I didn't want it to be confused with just too many people coming in because of the holiday weekend. So we're going to be continuing the outside dining and the inside takeout, curbside, and delivery for the weekend, and then gradually move it in. And I think the underlying thing that we have to really look at that's going to drive all of these conversations, why are we waiting? What are we going to do with unemployment? It's going to be consumer confidence. We have a different situation in this recession than we did in 2008 or 9 when the underlying economy just fell apart. The underlying economy, I think, is fairly firm and solid. And I think once consumer confidence comes back, that they can get out into the community and go to places that are open with confidence, then I think they're going to go out and spend, and we'll see a rebound in sales tax revenues. But remember, to Rich's comment, why wait? Income tax has been diverted to July 15th. There are a lot of numbers that aren't going to come in until July or August or even September until we see what's going on. We don't know what the consumer confidence is going to be. And I think an important part of what we have to do, and if you're in business, this is kind of standard procedure. Let's look at what didn't work during this problem time in our company. What agencies need to be retooled? What investments do we need to make in these agencies to make sure that they're ready and able to handle what's going on in this day and age? And certainly the Department of Labor is having an extraordinarily difficult time trying to get through it. And all of our constituents have called all of us to try to help us manage through that. But in the restaurant business, we're 58% unemployment, which means there's 58% of people out of work, but it also means there's 58 or 48 or whatever the number that's close to that are collecting unemployment and collecting that $600 extra kicker, which is a conflicting federal program. You have the PPP program that was designed to support business and keep people employed and off the unemployment, and now you're giving them $600 to stay out of work, and that gets through the summer, it's going to be difficult for people to get those people back to work. So I think it's all consumer confidence. I think we need to reinvent some processes as we look to the next budget, reinvent the way government works. And now I think would be the ideal time to do that.
Great, thank you. And I believe Representative Palm has her hand up.
Yes, thanks. I'm listening to all of my colleagues' comments with great interest and respect, as always. I think what we need to do, perhaps much better than we've done, is ask more essential questions across chambers and across committees, because as Q Phipps pointed out, the new normal is never going to be the old normal. And I think some of the questions that we need to ask ourselves, which really, frankly, require a little soul searching, would be, why is our structure such that unemployment comp is more lucrative than employment itself? Why was the paid family and medical leave program so controversial when, if it were funded now, if it had had time to build up its self-funding kitty, people could have been drawing on that, taking care of their family members who were ill instead of going on unemployment. Why are we still underfunding our nonprofit groups? I know Dan Osborne is in the audience. We're going to be increasingly turning to nonprofits to pick up the slack from government, and yet we haven't given them the funding that they need. Why do we keep calling for reduction in government bloat and staff layoffs when under Dan Malloy 17,000 jobs were either cut or not filled, and now the Department of Labor is absolutely swamped? So, I could go on and on, but I think until we start seeing the interconnectedness of the essential value of workers and the inequity of our tax structure and the lack of regionalization and all of the problems that dog government across every single platform, we have to start looking at it in a way that's less siloed. And if I had one comment to make, and it's more of a question than an answer, is could we all, as legislators representing various and diverse constituents, think about these things in a less siloed way, whether it's in special session, next session, regardless of what committee you're on? The environmental problems haven't gone away. I see my chair of environment here. We still have all of these things to tackle, and the only way to solve any of it is to think in a more seamless and holistic way, which is what I heard from my colleague Quentin, and what I think, and Senator Formica too, talking about all those things. So thank you for that. I'm just putting that out there as a mantra going forward.
Excellent.
No, it's a good, yeah, it's a good segue to some of the questions that are coming in that have to do with specific programs. There are programs out there, whether it be the DECD Brownfields program that needs to be funded, and these are projects that are going to help municipalities and local businesses move forward. Whether it be virtual net metering contracts that are in the queue for municipalities to benefit from, the DECD Brownfield programs. Could those programs that are in the queue ready to, be implemented be something that you tackle in a special session and move the needle forward for those?
I'll touch real quickly on just in terms of the Transfer Act, because it is something that we've been working on. And I think every chance I get an opportunity to talk about it, I like to take it, especially when it comes to chambers of commerce, because it is something we absolutely need to tackle to promote business in the state of Connecticut, allow for some of these commercial buildings to be purchased without issue, but also at the same time being mindful of our environment and what we had truly set out to do with the Transfer Act. which was to clean up environmental spills. So this well-meaning act obviously went awry, and we have set out to fix it, certainly with my colleague, Senator Hartley, who chairs the Commerce Committee, and I co-chaired Transfer Act Working Group with Senator Hartley as the Senate Chair of the Environment Committee, and I know Senator Needleman knows Transfer Act. It's near and dear to his heart, I'm sure. As the owner of several properties himself, he was integral to our conversations about how to move forward. I think we're in a really good place to make some significant changes and positive changes for the state of Connecticut, for business, for the environment. I think we really could build consensus at this point, have built consensus amongst committees, and are in a good place to move forward. But again, what we will be doing in a special session is the big question right now. And while I would love to move forward with some of the things that have come out of the working group, really productive pieces that we worked together with the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection on, I'm just not sure. Again, Senator Needleman said, these sessions are short. They're really short because we actually need to have sine die every single day. We cannot extend a session over multiple days. So we can go back in, but we need to call ourselves back in multiple times for business. So we really need to know what we're going in for. And I think that there are a number of consentable items across committees that we could work on beyond working on police reform, which I believe is important, but I think we need a more comprehensive racial justice package. Beyond voting in November, which I think is vitally important that we tackle amidst this pandemic, making sure people can exercise their right to vote. But I think there are a number of issues. Senator Abrams mentioned some healthcare issues that we should absolutely tackle, but also a number of committee issues, and this being one of them, where I think we really could find consensus, put them on a consent calendar, and get some real business done. So I'm hopeful that together with my colleagues, we can tackle some of these items.
Thank you. That's good. Joe, Sarah, I saw you kind of raise your hand there a couple times. Did you want to chime in on this? You gotta unmute yourself, Joe, or maybe we can do it here.
He's going to have to unmute on his end. There you go. Well, should be right at the top of your screen.
There you go, Joe.
There he is.
Okay, all right. Well, in my limited experience up there, my prediction is that the governor is not going to call us in unless there's agreement with all the caucuses and they agree to an agenda. My sense is they're not going to keep us there for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So there has to be total agreement. Everything that my colleagues have discussed are great issues, but I think they're going to be postponed until the next session of the legislature, because there has to be public hearings on a lot of these big issues that we're all talking about. I think that leadership has to agree. They have to be consentable, and there'll have to be no debate, or debate is going to have to be agreed to be limited, because one of the big issue is how do they bring us in and keep us safe in that whole environment up there. That's my discussion with leadership. And only issues that we have to handle by either the Constitution or out there, we're going to handle. There's got to be complete agreement on both sides. In fact, I've been warned that if one person gets up and questions an issue, it's gone. So this is going to be short. We're going to take care of things. Some of these issues that I perceive are very complicated, and they're going to need public hearings, and everybody's going to have to participate in it. So my sense is, and the governor said it, and you all know this, he said he's not calling us in unless there's absolute agreement by the caucuses. So that's where we stand. I mean, all these issues that I heard are great issues, but I don't think they have the legs to be called into the special session. Will be handled at the next session of the legislature. That's just my my sense. And I know Larry wanted me to say that because he always likes me to sum up what I think with my limited experience up there at the legislature. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
You knew we were going to call on you somewhere, Joe. They had to. Come on.
My God.
I think I think we got about time for one more question, and yeah, I think just to kind of say thank you to all of you. Joe, you've been here for a long time, and you've participated in a lot of these, and I know yourself. Buddy's not on the call, but you and Len and Buddy are not going to be coming back next session. Any final words of wisdom, Joe? We're going to give you the final say today. You got to unmute, but you got to unmute yourself so we can hear you. There you go.
Advice to my colleagues, I think they all know, always answer your constituents and get back to them. Even though you know you're going to wind up as an Italian word with agita, always respond to your constituents. Very important, especially people who live in your district. The other thing is, and I think most of the people that I learn are all veterans, so they understand what I said. I've always been close to the leadership in the House, so when I say, tongue in cheek, with my limited experience, obviously I talk to the Speaker and the Majority Leader almost at least every week, and so I have a inside track, and I know what's going to happen, how we're going to go in there, and the limit of we're going to have to take care of. School construction, certain things that we have to take care of, even that the crime bill or that's going to have a lot of discussion. The governor already said the only executive order he could do pertains to the state police. So you got municipal police, that's going to be a big debate. So my thing is pay attention. This is not the same, it's different. All the issues are not the same as 2009. We've never experienced this. The only thing I knew about this pandemic is what my mother-in-law told me because she reached the age of 102, so she was alive with that Spanish flu. So I never dreamed that I would be experienced what we're now experiencing. So just, I wish you all well. I'm not going to be there, and thanks for having me all these years.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
I didn't have a chance to call or hear from Representative Carney or Representative McLaughlin today. I think you might have raised your hands at one point and apologize for not getting to you. Do you guys have any words that you want to comment on? Give you an opportunity to speak here.
No, I just want to thank everybody. I mean, it was great to hear from all of my colleagues. I look forward to seeing you all. It seems like we haven't seen each other in a very long time. Well, I've seen Norman, Paul, and Jesse, I think, but that's about it because we share town. But we do have a lot of work to do. This is what the folks in our districts elected us to do the difficult work. And there are a lot of tough issues we're going to be working on, and some that need to get done in special session, and some, like we talked about, that should probably wait until a regular session so we can get public hearings and really see how the coronavirus pandemic has affected the budget. But we all know it's affected our way of life over the last roughly 3 months, and we're going to be entering definitely a new reality, not only for our budget, but also probably for the way we do legislative business. I think that's something, I don't know if that was talked about. I think that's something, though, that we should probably address. The fact that we couldn't do anything over the last 3 months because of our rules and our traditions and things like that. We may need to look into that and see if we can do things remotely, or have at least the option to do things remotely, like over Zoom, if something like this were to reoccur, either in the winter or if we enter January, February, and there's still lingering effects from a second wave of coronavirus. So I think that's something we should look into.
Thank you, Representative. Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you. Mute myself here. There we go. Thank you, Coach, and it's good to see everybody. Most of the most important issues were covered. I'll just say the shutdown, virus, and then the ensuing, unemployment issues that we've been dealing with have sort of highlighted a couple issues that I think are low-hanging fruit for us to tackle, namely workforce development. Not only creating more opportunities for students to bypass traditional college and get into apprenticeship opportunities, but also job retraining for folks that were displaced in the hospitality industry and the tourism industry, which are key to the economy on the shoreline in Middlesex County. And so we need to get really creative with finding ways to help people transition. I wish the country had been better at that when globalization set in the 80s, or we wouldn't have the large demographic of working class folks who kind of dropped off of their manufacturing and blue collar work, and all the political problems that has caused, but also as mental health care. With so many of us sort of cut off and isolated, I think the need for accessible and affordable mental health care, in addition to, or I would say that goes further than typical pharmaceuticals. And what I mean is better access to, whether that's cognitive behavioral therapy or telemedicine therapy. Mental health care is something that we really haven't gotten right yet. And I think this virus has created the impetus to tackle that. So, there's a lot of smart people on this in our delegation, and I want to thank Coach McHugh for bringing us together. And I know we're going to be able to tackle these problems together. So thank you, everyone. I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, Jesse. And thank you, everybody, for participating today. I'm going to toss it back to Maureen for some final comments, and then back to the coach.
Nothing more from me except for to thank you for joining us. Ooh, that's a weird time. I know you guys are all busy, even though you're not up in that building. It takes a lot, but you've always been great to the chamber in terms of your attendance and your participation, and your genuine interest in your members' issues. So thank you so much. And we are here as legislative co-chairs or through Jeff or the coach if you have any questions or anything we can help you with. But thanks for being part of this. It's been very Zoom. It worked, and really appreciate it. And now I'll give it back to Coach.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Maureen, for your unbelievable support of the chamber. You've been just wonderful. You've got a great company. I always use the example of Connecticut Water when I was chair of the University of Connecticut board. And there was a discussion of how can we get water into Yukon. And we had different groups that wanted to come in there. And we went with Connecticut Water, and I can tell you it was one of the proudest things that we did up there for myself. As you know, there was a lot of discussion in the past with the water situation drying up at up in the Mansfield area. So again, Maureen, thank you for your leadership of Connecticut Water, but more importantly, everything you've done with the chamber. And to all of our representatives and senators on the phone, I can just tell you that I've been blessed working with all of you over a period of years. I brag all the time that I have been very fortunate here in Middlesex County to have great selectmen and mayors to work with, great people in the House and Senate that we might disagree with, but we can always sit around the table and get things solved. So I truly, truly appreciate it. It's been a team effort. I have a good short session, I know it'll be, but I'm looking forward to working with you as we move into next year. Just always remember, the sun always shines in Middlesex County. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Coach. Everybody.
Everyone.
Thank you.